Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. Ever since we started to discuss this project, the ink level sensor system for the Pro-1000, we have been talking about ink level disabling. And for many of you, that might seem like some kind of new fangled feature that you can enable, some kind of secret feature, but actually has been around for a very, very long time. And we have to go back to the early day of printers that only use cartridges that ride on the printhead assembly. Many of them are EPSON, many of them were Canon. Now the EPSON cartridges, when they were declared empty, they had quite a bit of ink left in them. And so users were basically, unbeknownst to them, throwing away a lot of ink. Well, there was a class action suit that kind of took care of that. These cartridges have been redesigned so that when they are declared empty, they're pretty much empty. They may have a bit of ink left, but you're not throwing away a ton of ink. And what happens is that whenever you are printing something, and say for instance, you run out of ink or you get down to the very dangerous point on any given color channel, meaning a cartridge is about to go empty and yet the print's not done yet, some of the EPSON printers implemented a feature that basically stopped the printing, allow you to exchange the supposedly empty cartridge for a full one, brand new, and then proceed to continue to print without any hint of where you left off and continue printing again. And that's including the purge cycle that the printer requires to do before it can begin to print. Well, Canon printers have a totally different design cartridge, and from the very beginning, they use a sponge type cartridge. And what happens when these cartridges run out of ink, supposedly, it's basically a short while after the liquid chamber runs out of ink. That means that the sponge is beginning to lose saturation because there's no more ink to replace it. And that is it. That is when it's declared empty. But what if you're in the middle of a print? What if you're in the middle of a print? You do not have a full cartridge any longer. You have a choice. Either cancel the print job, insert a new cartridge or a refilled one. We're lucky with Canon, we can do that. And reprint that image, knowing that you have enough ink to finish not only that job, but any subsequent job after that. Well, some people didn't like that. So what they have done in order to prevent any possibility of somebody getting upset and doing you know what, they allow you to disable ink monitoring. In other words, they allow you to continue to print and extract the last few mLs or even drops of ink out of that sponge. Sure, if you threw away that cartridge at the same moment it was either low or declared empty, you're throwing away maybe 3.5 to 4 ml of ink that still lives in that sponge, but you cannot extract all of that ink. You just simply cannot. I have some cartridges, and if you look at any cartridges that are empty and you maybe store them, you'll see that the sponge is deeply stained with ink still. It just now has dried up. Well, at the point where the cartridge is declared empty or very, very low, you still have enough ink to finish printing that one print. Now remember that these printers or early models were only capable of printing letter size, or what they refer to as A4, I think, in the metric system of paper sizes. So if, for instance, halfway through the print, it runs out of ink, supposedly, according to the chip, you could tell the printer to continue to print. Okay, you take a chance. You're taking this upon yourself to continue to print and finish that job. And then at that point, I will exchange my now even more empty cartridge for a new one. Well, we have been able to take that little advantage, that little loophole, and use it to our advantage, where we can now print without having to reset that chip. Just disable ink monitoring the moment the chip says I'm empty, and then make sure you continually refill your cartridges. That's basically what we're doing here at the moment. So that is about it. So simply, disabling ink monitoring is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. I recall back in the days of the Pro-9000 Mark II and the regular Pro-9000 and any of the older printers, there was no such thing as a resetter back then. We had to rely on disabling ink monitoring and then making sure that our sponge type cartridges were always kept at least above low. In other words, with ink in the liquid reservoir so that we never really truly run out of ink. All right, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. And until the next time, happy printing, everybody, and bye-bye.